Welcome to Book Buzz Reviews and Summaries. Imagine a homecoming not of a physical place, but of the soul, a journey back to the deepest parts of yourself, where the roots of who you are were first planted. In Homecoming, John Bradshaw invites you on a transformative voyage, one that doesn't require you to pack a suitcase, but instead asks you to confront the emotional landscapes that shaped your life. This homecoming is one that leads you to rediscover the child within you, unlocking hidden wounds, buried emotions, and forgotten truths that are still influencing your relationships, behaviors, and sense of self today. Bradshaw, a pioneer in the field of family systems therapy and inner child work, understands that the most important home we return to is the one within. Through his profound insights and gentle guidance, he shows us that the unresolved issues of our past continue to haunt us in the present. Whether it's an unhealed wound from childhood, a toxic family dynamic, or emotional patterns we've inherited, these forces shape our adult lives in ways we often don't recognize. But Bradshaw also brings hope. By acknowledging and reconnecting with the child within, we can heal those wounds and liberate ourselves from the cycles of pain. Homecoming is both a revelation and a roadmap. With every page, Bradshaw unpacks the layers of emotional armor we've built over the years. He guides us through understanding the ways we've learned to survive, adapt, and cope, often at the cost of our own emotional health. This isn't a theoretical book. It's deeply practical, offering exercises and techniques to help you reconnect with your inner child, grieve the pain of the past, and embrace the healing power of self-compassion. In a world that often encourages us to move on from our past, Bradshaw's work stands as a powerful reminder that healing doesn't come from burying our emotions, but from facing them head-on. He teaches that true homecoming involves mourning what we lost, recognizing how our inner child was affected by trauma or neglect, and then learning to reparent ourselves with the love, validation, and support we may have never received. But this isn't just a book about the past. It's about breaking free from old patterns and reclaiming your power in the present. By healing the inner child, Bradshaw believes we can create healthier relationships, find greater joy and fulfillment, and, most importantly, begin to live in alignment with our true selves. The past may have shaped you, but it doesn't have to define you. As you read Homecoming, you'll find yourself unraveling emotional knots you didn't even know existed. You'll learn that the child you once were is still very much alive inside you, and by welcoming them back, you can start to heal in ways that impact every facet of your life. This homecoming is not just a return to where you started, but a powerful leap toward the person you're meant to become. Are you ready to take the first step on this transformative journey? Introduction: The Inner Child Concept. Bradshaw begins Homecoming by introducing the idea of the inner child, a concept that refers to the emotional part of every person that has remained unchanged since childhood. The inner child is shaped by early experiences, both positive and negative, and these experiences heavily influence adult behavior. In particular, traumatic or painful experiences in childhood, such as neglect, abuse, or unmet emotional needs, can leave deep emotional wounds that continue to affect an individual long into adulthood. Bradshaw stresses that many adult problems, such as addiction, depression, anxiety, relationship dysfunction, and an inability to achieve personal fulfillment, are rooted in these unresolved childhood wounds. The inner child is essentially the repository of these unhealed emotional experiences. If the inner child's needs were not met in childhood, these unmet needs manifest in adulthood, often in self-destructive ways. The first few chapters serve to help the reader recognize the symptoms of inner child neglect, which include feelings of shame, low self-esteem, perfectionism, fear of intimacy, and emotional numbness. Bradshaw emphasizes that healing begins with acknowledging the existence of this inner child and understanding how past trauma may have shaped current behaviors and attitudes. Understanding toxic shame. One of the core concepts Bradshaw explores in the book is toxic shame. According to Bradshaw, shame is an inevitable part of the human condition, but there are two types: healthy shame and toxic shame. Healthy shame serves as a moral compass, keeping people grounded and reminding them of their limitations. It is the kind of shame that helps individuals remain humble and connected to others. Toxic shame, on the other hand, is destructive. It is the internalized belief that one is inherently flawed, defective, and unworthy of love or acceptance. This toxic shame is often the result of early childhood experiences, especially those involving abuse or neglect. Bradshaw explains that when a child's emotional needs are not met, they internalize the belief that they are not good enough or deserving of love. This belief becomes the foundation for many of the psychological and emotional struggles they experience later in life. Bradshaw goes on to explain how toxic shame manifests in adulthood. People who carry toxic shame often feel a deep sense of inadequacy and unworthiness. They may engage in self-sabotaging behaviors, such as addiction, isolation, or perfectionism, as a way to cope with or mask their feelings of shame. They may also struggle with vulnerability, fearing that if others see their true selves, they will be rejected. Healing from toxic shame involves recognizing its presence and understanding how it has influenced one's life. Bradshaw encourages readers to confront their shame head-on, offering exercises and techniques designed to help individuals unearth their buried feelings and begin the process of healing. The process of reparenting. At the heart of homecoming is the concept of reparenting. This is a process by which adults take on the role of the parent for their own inner child, providing the love, guidance, and protection that may have been missing during their actual childhood. Reparenting is crucial because it allows individuals to meet their own emotional needs, rather than seeking validation and love from external sources. Bradshaw explains that the process of reparenting begins with recognizing and accepting the inner child's existence. He introduces a variety of techniques for connecting with the inner child, including visualization exercises, journaling, and meditation. The goal is to establish a relationship with this vulnerable part of oneself, offering it the love and care that was lacking in childhood. One of the key elements of reparenting is setting boundaries. Bradshaw emphasizes that adults must learn to protect their inner child by establishing clear emotional boundaries with others. This may involve distancing oneself from toxic relationships or environments that perpetuate feelings of shame or inadequacy. Bradshaw also stresses the importance of self-compassion in the reparenting process. He encourages readers to be gentle with themselves, offering love and forgiveness to their inner child for any perceived mistakes or flaws. This is a critical step in breaking free from toxic shame and developing a sense of self-worth. Healing the wounded inner child. In this section, Bradshaw provides readers with a step-by-step guide to healing the wounded inner child. He outlines specific exercises designed to help individuals confront and process their childhood wounds, ultimately leading to emotional healing. The first step in healing is acknowledgement. Bradshaw encourages readers to reflect on their childhood experiences, particularly those that were painful or traumatic. He stresses the importance of facing these memories head-on, rather than avoiding or suppressing them. By bringing these memories to the surface, individuals can begin to understand how their childhood has shaped their current emotional state. Next, Bradshaw introduces the concept of grief work. This involves allowing oneself to fully feel and express the pain, anger, and sadness associated with childhood wounds. Bradshaw emphasizes that grieving is an essential part of the healing process, as it allows individuals to release the emotional burden they have been carrying for years. Once the grieving process is complete, Bradshaw encourages readers to focus on forgiveness. This includes forgiving oneself for any perceived mistakes or shortcomings, as well as forgiving those who may have caused harm during childhood. Bradshaw acknowledges that forgiveness is not easy, but he emphasizes that it is a necessary step in the healing process. Holding on to anger or resentment only serves to perpetuate feelings of shame and inadequacy. Finally, Bradshaw offers techniques for nurturing the inner child moving forward. This includes engaging in activities that bring joy and fulfillment, as well as practicing self-care and self-compassion. Bradshaw emphasizes that healing is an ongoing process, and individuals must continue to care for their inner child throughout their lives. The role of family in emotional development. A significant portion of Homecoming is dedicated to exploring the role of family in emotional development. Bradshaw explains that the family unit plays a critical role in shaping a child's sense of self and emotional well-being. When a family is dysfunctional, due to issues such as addiction, abuse, or neglect, children are often left with deep emotional wounds that carry into adulthood. Bradshaw introduces the concept of the dysfunctional family system, in which unhealthy patterns of behavior are passed down from generation to generation. In such families, children often take on specific roles, such as the hero, the scapegoat, or the lost child, in an attempt to cope with the dysfunction around them. These roles can lead to distorted beliefs about oneself and unhealthy coping mechanisms that persist into adulthood. Bradshaw emphasizes that breaking free from the dysfunctional family system requires individuals to recognize and challenge these patterns. He encourages readers to reflect on their family dynamics and consider how these dynamics may have influenced their emotional development. By understanding the role that family has played in shaping their inner child, individuals can begin to break the cycle of dysfunction and create healthier emotional patterns for themselves. Reclaiming your authentic self. One of the overarching themes of Homecoming is the importance of reclaiming one's authentic self. Bradshaw argues that many people lose touch with their true selves as a result of childhood trauma or societal pressures. They may adopt false identities or personas in an attempt to fit in or gain approval from others. Bradshaw encourages readers to reconnect with their authentic selves by peeling away the layers of falsehood and self-protection that have built up over the years. This involves embracing one's true feelings, desires, and vulnerabilities, rather than suppressing or denying them. A key aspect of reclaiming the authentic self is learning to trust oneself again. Bradshaw explains that many people who have experienced childhood trauma struggle with self-trust. They may doubt their own instincts or judgment, leading to feelings of insecurity and self-doubt. Reclaiming the authentic self requires rebuilding this trust by listening to one's inner voice and honoring one's true needs and desires. Spiritual healing and the inner child. In the latter part of the book, Bradshaw introduces the concept of spiritual healing as an integral part of the inner child work. He explains that emotional healing is not just a psychological process, but also a spiritual one. By reconnecting with the inner child, individuals can also reconnect with their spiritual selves, finding a deeper sense of purpose and meaning in life. Bradshaw draws on a variety of spiritual traditions, including Christianity, Buddhism, and Native American spirituality, to illustrate the importance of spiritual healing. He emphasizes that spirituality is a deeply personal experience and encourages readers to explore their own spiritual beliefs and practices as part of their healing journey. One of the key spiritual principles Bradshaw highlights is the idea of wholeness. He explains that many people who have experienced childhood trauma feel fragmented or disconnected from themselves. Spiritual healing involves bringing these fragmented parts of the self back together, creating a sense of wholeness and integration. Bradshaw also discusses the role of forgiveness in spiritual healing, emphasizing that forgiveness is not just a psychological act, but a spiritual one as well. By forgiving oneself and others, individuals can release the emotional and spiritual burdens that have been holding them back, allowing them to move forward with a sense of peace and freedom. Digging deeper into the inner child. As Bradshaw continues his exploration into the inner child concept, he emphasizes that everyone has an inner child, whether or not they are aware of it. This part of the psyche is created in early childhood, shaped by both nurturing and traumatic experiences. The emotional imprints of these early years stay with us, forming the foundation for our adult behavior, emotions, and even beliefs about ourselves and the world. The process of healing requires digging deep into these early experiences to uncover unresolved pain. For many, the inner child remains hidden behind layers of defense mechanisms that have been built up over the years, mechanisms like denial, repression, or avoidance. Bradshaw explains that these defenses are often put in place to protect oneself from reliving childhood pain. However, while they may serve a protective purpose in the short term, these defenses ultimately prevent healing. One of the key tasks in inner child work is dismantling these defenses so that the true emotions can be felt and processed. Bradshaw advocates for creating a safe space, either through therapy, support groups, or personal reflection, where individuals can begin to face their childhood pain without judgment or fear. This process, while painful, is the first step toward healing. Facing emotional trauma. In Homecoming, Bradshaw explains that much of the pain carried by the inner child stems from unresolved trauma. This trauma can take many forms: physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, neglect, abandonment, or even more subtle forms of emotional invalidation, where a child's feelings are ignored or dismissed. He stresses that trauma is subjective. What may seem like a small or insignificant event to one person could be deeply traumatic for another. Childhood trauma has a way of magnifying the emotional impact, particularly because children lack the coping skills and emotional understanding to process painful experiences in a healthy way. Instead, they internalize the trauma, often blaming themselves for the pain they experience. Bradshaw encourages readers to approach their inner child with empathy and understanding. Rather than minimizing or dismissing the trauma they experienced, he invites them to fully acknowledge and honor the pain they felt as children. He provides exercises designed to help individuals connect with the emotions they may have buried long ago, allowing them to express these emotions in a safe and healing way. This process is often difficult, as it forces individuals to relive painful memories they may have worked hard to forget. However, Bradshaw emphasizes that healing cannot occur unless the pain is brought to the surface. Once these emotions are acknowledged and processed, the inner child can begin to heal. The shadow side of the inner child. In addition to exploring the wounded inner child, Bradshaw also delves into the darker aspects of the inner child, often referred to as the shadow child. This shadow represents the repressed parts of oneself that are deemed unacceptable, unlovable, or too painful to acknowledge. The shadow child is often born out of shame, the belief that one is inherently flawed or unworthy. As children, when we are told that certain behaviors, emotions, or aspects of ourselves are bad or wrong, we push these parts into the shadow. Over time, the shadow child grows, becoming a source of unconscious behavior and emotional pain in adulthood. For instance, if a child is constantly criticized for being too emotional, they may push their emotional sensitivity into the shadow, leading to a lifetime of emotional suppression. As an adult, this person may struggle with emotional numbness, difficulty forming close relationships, or explosive outbursts of emotion that seem to come out of nowhere. Bradshaw explains that integrating the shadow child is an essential part of the healing process. Rather than rejecting these parts of ourselves, he encourages readers to bring them into the light, acknowledging and accepting them with love and compassion. Only by embracing the shadow can individuals become whole. Reclaiming joy and playfulness. One of the most beautiful aspects of Bradshaw's work is his emphasis on reclaiming the joyful, playful side of the inner child. While much of the inner child work involves processing pain and trauma, Bradshaw reminds readers that the inner child is also the source of creativity, spontaneity, and joy. As children, we are naturally curious, imaginative, and playful. However, many of us lose touch with these qualities as we grow older, especially if we experience trauma or are taught that play is frivolous or unproductive. Bradshaw stresses that reconnecting with the inner child is not just about healing wounds, it's also about rediscovering the joy and wonder that comes with being alive. He encourages readers to engage in activities that bring them joy, whether it's painting, playing sports, dancing, or simply spending time in nature. These activities allow individuals to reconnect with the playful side of their inner child, reminding them of the importance of fun and creativity in life. Bradshaw also highlights the importance of play in relationships. He explains that many adult relationships become rigid, serious, or overly focused on responsibility, leading to a loss of intimacy and connection. By bringing playfulness into relationships, individuals can create deeper, more fulfilling connections with others. The role of forgiveness in healing. Forgiveness is another key theme in Homecoming. Bradshaw explains that true healing cannot occur without forgiveness, both for oneself and for those who may have caused harm in childhood. However, he is quick to note that forgiveness is not about condoning or excusing harmful behavior. Rather, it is about releasing the emotional burden that comes with holding on to anger, resentment, and bitterness. Forgiving oneself is often the hardest part of the healing process. Many individuals carry deep feelings of guilt and shame from childhood, believing that they were somehow responsible for the pain they experienced. Bradshaw encourages readers to recognize that as children, they were not to blame for the abuse, neglect, or emotional invalidation they suffered. By forgiving themselves, they can release the toxic shame that has been holding them back. Forgiving others, particularly parents or caregivers, can also be challenging. Bradshaw emphasizes that forgiveness is a choice, and it is ultimately about freeing oneself from the emotional hold that past experiences have on the present. He encourages readers to approach forgiveness as a process, recognizing that it may take time and that it is okay to feel anger or sadness along the way. The power of support and community. While much of Homecoming focuses on individual work, Bradshaw also emphasizes the importance of support and community in the healing process. He explains that healing is not something that can be done in isolation, it requires the love, support, and understanding of others. Bradshaw encourages readers to seek out supportive relationships, whether through therapy, support groups, or trusted friends and family members. He stresses the importance of finding people who can listen without judgment and provide a safe space for emotional expression. In these supportive relationships, individuals can begin to heal the wounds of the past and create new, healthier patterns of connection. For those who may not have access to a supportive community, Bradshaw suggests joining a therapy group or participating in online forums where people share their experiences of inner child work. The sense of belonging and validation that comes from being part of a healing community can be incredibly powerful. Breaking the cycle of dysfunction. One of the most empowering aspects of Homecoming is Bradshaw's emphasis on breaking the cycle of dysfunction that often gets passed down from one generation to the next. Many of the behaviors and beliefs that individuals carry into adulthood are inherited from their parents, who in turn inherited them from their own parents. This cycle of dysfunction can continue for generations unless it is consciously addressed and healed. Bradshaw explains that by doing the work to heal the inner child, individuals can break free from these patterns and create healthier emotional environments for themselves and their families. This is particularly important for parents, as their emotional health directly affects their children's development. He provides practical tools for creating a healthy family environment, including setting clear boundaries, practicing open communication, and modeling self-care and emotional regulation. By doing the inner child work, parents can ensure that they do not pass their unresolved trauma onto their children, creating a healthier and more loving family dynamic. The journey toward emotional wholeness. The journey toward emotional wholeness is a central theme in Homecoming. Bradshaw explains that healing the inner child is not just about resolving past trauma, it is about becoming a whole, integrated person. This involves embracing all parts of oneself, the light and the dark, the joyful and the painful, and finding a sense of inner peace and balance. Bradshaw's approach is holistic, incorporating not only psychological techniques but also spiritual practices. He encourages readers to develop a deeper connection with themselves and with a higher power, whatever that may mean for them. This spiritual connection provides a sense of purpose and meaning, helping individuals navigate the challenges of life with greater resilience and grace. Homecoming is about reclaiming one's true self and living a life that is authentic, joyful, and fulfilling. Bradshaw's message is one of hope and empowerment. No matter how deep the wounds of the past, healing is always possible. Through the process of reconnecting with the inner child, individuals can break free from the pain of the past and create a brighter, more fulfilling future. Conclusion: the ongoing journey of healing. As Bradshaw concludes Homecoming, he reminds readers that healing is not a one-time event but an ongoing journey. The work of nurturing the inner child continues throughout life, as new challenges and experiences arise. However, by building a strong foundation of self-love, compassion, and emotional awareness, individuals can navigate these challenges with greater ease and resilience. The journey toward emotional wholeness is deeply personal, but it is also universal. Everyone has an inner child that longs for love, validation, and healing. By embracing this part of themselves, individuals can unlock their true potential and live a life that is full of joy, connection, and purpose. In the end, Homecoming is a powerful guide for anyone seeking to heal from the wounds of the past and reclaim their true selves. Through his compassionate and insightful approach, Bradshaw provides readers with the tools they need to embark on this transformative journey and find the emotional freedom they deserve. Read the book to learn more. If you are liking the series, please press the subscribe button. Thank you.